Sean McNulty is creator and writer of the Wake Up Entertainment Business newsletter at The Ankler. And Sean, it's great to see you. Look, it's almost like there's nothing to talk about because they're just firing on all cylinders. So, you know, what am I missing? What could be around the corner? Or is it, to quote the analyst last hour, has Netflix just become TV now?
That's certainly true. You're talking about a service that's in probably about close to 90 million U.S. homes, which is pretty close to what the cable bundle was at for many years around its peak. So arguably that is the new cable bundle. If you're going to say, what do most Americans have? It is Netflix. You're right. I'm glad you said it. You know, not like we're waiting on these big numbers. No more subscriber numbers. Kind of they took the fun out of the earnings call a little bit there, Netflix. But the ad market is really the thing that my mind is most focused on. We'll see what they say about it. They still don't release an ad to your subscriber number. They've given us monthly user numbers and things like that, but they haven't really given a lot of detail. Will they give more now? Doubtful, but Netflix likes to surprise you every now and then too.
Right. We don't want bad surprises. What form might those take?
I think it's the real question is, and I would love to hear, and I hope it's asked, is we heard a lot about Amazon flooding the market, right? They went essentially all ad tier about a year and a half ago, and there's been reports that came out about a month or two ago that they're essentially doubling their ad inventory in the breaks. And we heard on the Hollywood studio earnings calls the past couple of quarters that there's an unnamed competitor that was flooding the market with inventory and lowering the CPMs, the cost for the ad units. Netflix hasn't really commented on this. I wonder if it's hitting them. We haven't heard anything about the upfronts from them. It's been 2 months since their big upfront presentation. I'd love an update on that. So we'll see what kind of color they give, and that will honestly say it all if they say nothing or if they give some real detail as to what's going on here.
Is Netflix competing with YouTube, or does everybody just kind of have one or the other? Where does YouTube and YouTube TV fall into this whole thing?
Sure. I mean, the YouTube TV, which is the bundle product, is really kind of a separate thing. There is advertising in that. But the YouTube product, I mean, I always, comp the numbers, right? And Netflix is still making more revenue per quarter by a healthy margin over YouTube. YouTube's ad revenue in the first quarter was a little under $9 billion. We'll see what they come with this quarter. Netflix is projecting $11 billion of revenue here for Q2. So from a revenue point of view, they're winning. But another question to ask would really be, are advertisers, competing for advertising money with YouTube? Because that would be the real challenge there that, in the advertiser market. But if the advertisers don't see these two as similar products, we all see the advertisers that are on YouTube. They are far different than what you're seeing on Netflix in terms of the products you have. So I'd love to hear some more color on that. Ted Sarandos famously kind of downplays the YouTube competition a little bit in terms of how people spend their time. He said, with kind of passing time or spending time. So we'll see what he has to say about that.
It's not a complicated business. You produce or buy products that people want to consume, and if it's good enough, they continue to pay every month, right? Like The Bear on Hulu, everybody talked about that. First 2 seasons, season 3, completely different story. But people signed up for Hulu because they wanted to watch The Bear. Then maybe they canceled. It's called churn. It's the fancy term. Does Netflix have a churn problem, or are they almost above churn at this point, Sean?
Yeah, they don't give any exact, detail into that, but of all the data we see from services like Antenna, they definitely consistently rate on the bottom level of the churn problem that a lot of other services like Apple, we've seen Paramount Plus have some issues with that as well, at least from third-party data. So again, it's the most stable thing. Again, it is that cable thing. It's, back when HBO dominated pay TV, it was always, you had basic cable and HBO. Maybe you added on Showtime, maybe you added on Stars, but you always got HBO first. Now it's kind of Netflix. And if you have Netflix first, maybe you add on Peacock, maybe you add on Amazon, whatever it might be. So it's become that. So yeah, churn is less of an issue for them, at least on when we used to get the subscriber numbers, we had a little more insight into that. But that's certainly a very stable business that you just have it. And that's become the de facto first mover status. Again, that's a big thing in this business.